Silent Hill is not only one of my all-time favorite games, but also one of my all-time favorite series. I know the series has fallen off a bit because of reasons, but to me, Silent Hill should be right up there with Resident Evil as the kings of survival horror. And in terms of actual scare factor, the Silent Hill games beat the Resident Evil games hands down, at least in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the actual games, people tend to gravitate towards Silent Hill 2 as the best. I have my own opinion on Silent Hill 2 that you will hear later this month, but I'll say this right now, in my opinion, Silent Hill 1 is the best game of the series. Good day ladies and gentlemen, it's me the one and only Adrian Chambly, and before I start my review of Silent Hill, I want to talk to you about my history with the game. Now, this is the same copy that my cousin owned, and she eventually gave it to me because she moved on with the PS2 and other consoles. But I remember it was a Sunday afternoon when she brought this game over to my house, and her and my brother were playing it, and that game freaked me out. It was one of the scariest games I've ever seen. I remember them being in the school area. It was normal, it was dark, and of course you had the enemies surrounding Harry, the main character. And it was creepy, but it looked like a basic Resident Evil game. You had that little flashlight, it only gives you like 5 feet of light. And it was a creepy experience. But then I saw the alternate the alternate school, and that just upped the creepiness for me, and I was like, wow, this is insane. That game scared the heck out of me as a kid. And I remember the next day they were in the hospital, and that really freaked me out. Those nurses, oh my gosh, they gave me chills, and I was like, I don't know if I could play this game. I did eventually give it a shot it was a Monday morning. I did eventually give it a shot, and I didn't get very far, but I remember being kind of intrigued. I remember seeing the intro and kind of intrigued about what was going on. The fog and the daytime sections was pretty interesting, and then you had these crazy weird enemies, the flying really the screamers, they're called screamers, and then you had the dogs, which like had no hair on them. It was crazy, and I remember getting lost, but I was like, I kind of dig the gloomy environment it had. And funny thing about it was I was playing the game on a gloomy Monday morning, so it kind of matched what it looked like outside my house. But yeah, I wouldn't actually really try and play and beat Silent Hill until I'll say about 3 years later when I was in high school. I remember Silent Hill 2 was coming out, and I was playing this at my little cousin's house. I was playing this one at my little cousin's house, and I remember getting to a point where the plot kind of thickens when he figures out what was going on. And that kind of motivated me. He said, you know what? I kind of want to beat this game now. So I took it home, started playing the game, and through trial and tribulation, I eventually beat the game. I didn't get the good ending, but I did beat the game. And it was there where I became a Silent Hill fan. And I remember after beating the game that I decided to try and play the game again to get a good ending. I didn't get the good ending because I didn't know what I was doing. But then eventually, thanks to GameFAQs, I eventually beat the game with a good ending. But yeah, it was because of this game I became a Silent Hill fan, and I did eventually buy Silent Hill 2 the day after Christmas, or 2 days after Christmas, one of those days. But I did buy Silent Hill 2, and I also bought the guide for Silent Hill 2 because I was not going to get lost with these doggone puzzles this time around. But yeah, that's my history with Silent Hill. I've been a fan of it ever since, and let's get back to the review. Silent Hill takes place sometime in the 1980s. You play as Harry Mason, a widower father who has a daughter named Cheryl. Cheryl, for some reason, wants to go to Silent Hill for a vacation, and Harry agrees to said vacation. So they set out to the popular tourist destination until suddenly a mysterious girl appears in the middle of the road. Harry swerves his car to avoid her, crashing it in the process. Harry then wakes up to a foggy, snowy, deserted town. He notices his daughter is missing and immediately gets out of the car to find her. He sees what looks like to be his daughter in the distant fog. He calls her name and she runs away. He begins to run after her into an alley. Then suddenly, it gets darker. With only a lit match as a source of light, he proceeds to look for Cheryl. But as he goes through the alleyway, things start to get more disturbing. A random wheelchair with his wheels still spinning, a hospital bed for some reason, and the cherry on top of the shit sundae, a dead, mutilated body hanging on the fence. And out of nowhere, these enemies called the Grey Children show up to kill you. But then you wake up in a diner with a cop named Sybil. It was all a dream. Or was it? From there, the story takes a lot of twists and turns. You meet more characters throughout your journey, some helpful and some not so much. And as you progress, you learn how deep the rabbit hole goes with this town. I won't spoil the story. I want you all to experience it for yourselves, but the story overall is damn good. However, to completely understand it, it will take multiple playthroughs and a lot of exploration to fully get what the hell's going on. I really do like Harry Mason as a character. I like his determination to find his daughter no matter what. Yeah, this town's being overrun by these creatures and this darkness, but he doesn't care. His main priority is getting his daughter.
Hold it. Where do you think you're going?
My daughter. I've got to find her.
No way. It's dangerous out there.
In that case, I need to find her now. Cheryl's my little girl.
Sybil's also a great character. I do like that she does help Harry out throughout the game. Though I do wonder why they never decide to just team up and stick together. I think it would make things a lot easier and more safe, but video game logic, I guess. And then there's Dahlia. Dahlia's the one character that does know what's going on, but she speaks in this gibberish all the time, talking about demons and darkness. You know, one of those type of characters.
The town is being devoured by darkness. Hungry for sacrifice, the demon will swallow up the land. To seal this town to the abyss, the mark of Samael.
What?
The dead will walk and martyrs will burn in the fires of hell. Everyone will die.
I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
But she is an interesting character at the end of the day. And everybody else does a fine job too. They all play their parts well. I won't spoil anything, but the characters in this game are really good at the end of the day. Now, for what matters most, the gameplay. Silent Hill plays a lot like classic Resident Evil. It has tank controls and your ammo is very limited. Well, depending on what difficulty you choose. On normal, you'll get plenty of ammo to comfortably complete the game. On hard, however, you will have to choose your fights more carefully, and sometimes it's just best to run away. You'll be exploring your surroundings, solving cryptic puzzles, and fighting off spooky enemies. The combat is okay for what it is. You have the option to use melee weapons and guns. Using melee weapons is obviously more difficult compared to firearms. I usually just use the handgun on most enemies, but I do like to use the hammer on the nurses in a hospital to save on ammo. The enemies themselves aren't too much of an annoyance. Well, except one. The Romper can burn in hell. This enemy is by far the most annoying thing in the game. These ape-like monsters will jump on you out of nowhere and take a big bite out of your flesh, only for you to get up and for it to happen again 2 seconds later. And they're super fast too, so good luck trying to outrun them. The creepiest enemy award goes to the puppet nurses and doctors. These enemies have a noticeable parasite on their backs that are controlling them, hence the name Puppet Nurse. They reside in a hospital area, obviously, and they can be overwhelming if there is a crowd of them. They're not too difficult to take out, but they do give me the creeps. And on a side note, this is the only game where you have male doctor enemies. The later games will just rely on nurses. What's just as creepy as the enemies are the locations you visit. You have 3 different parts of the town you explore. Other areas include the school, hospital, and the sewers. But you know what? This school looks awfully familiar. That's right, Midwich Elementary School was modeled after the school from the movie Kindergarten Cop, which I just learned not too long ago. But besides that, there are some iconic moments in this school, including the locker room, the boss fight, and the telephone cutscene.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
But yeah, the school is my favorite area in the game. My second favorite is the hospital. I love the creepy atmosphere and those damn nurses freak me out. The place I don't like visiting would be the sewer. There are 2 sewer areas you explore, and when I was younger, I hated those areas. But as I was replaying the game for review, I actually had an easier time. The only real issue was these enemies called the Hanging Scratchers. They can be a pain to take out or avoid. Granted, they're not nearly as bad as the Rompers. The sewers overall are not as bad as I remembered, but I can still do without them. Graphically, the game looks pretty good for a 25-year-old title. The character models are really good. The face models, they're not too bad. I'll even go a step further. The old PS1 graphics actually make some areas scarier. Obviously, the fog was put in place to mask the limitations of the PS1. However, the fog I think looks pretty good and it adds to the game's scare factor. The enemies appearing out of the fog to attack you can be pretty chilling, and the otherworld sections actually look creepier with the limited graphics in my opinion. The enemy designs, however, are a mixed bag. The dogs, screamers, and puppet nurses all look fine to me, but some of these designs are kinda meh. The Rompers, Hanging Scratchers, and one of the boss designs really don't do much for me. The voice acting is good. I especially like Lisa's voice performance. You really get a sense that she's terrified about what's going on.
If there's a chance, I've got to try.
Harry, don't go! I don't want to be alone. It's so scary, I can't stand it.
Everyone else does a fine job too. However, you do get these awkward pauses in between sentences. Still on the subject of sound, the sound design is incredible. Especially if you're wearing headphones, hearing creepy noises in the background and not knowing what's making those noises and not knowing where they're coming from will never get old. And last but not least, the music. It's a well-known fact that the Silent Hill series has amazing music, and it all started here. I love this soundtrack. Akira Yamaoka composed a gem to kick off this series. The mix between creepy, unsettling, calm, soothing, and sad, depressing tracks blends very well with this game, and that opening theme will forever be burned in my head. I love it. Silent Hill is one of my favorite games of all time. I used to be so terrified of this game until I worked up the courage to finally play it. This game and this franchise helped me through my high school years. It was a much needed distraction for me as a teen, and I am very thankful to have those amazing experiences growing up. If you can, play this game. I know it's a little expensive right now, but the experience is well worth it. Or better yet, if you have a PS3, buy it digitally, at least while you still can. Thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I did really well with my Elden Ring video. I have over 500 subs finally. I really do appreciate the comments in that Elden Ring video as well. Let's keep that momentum going with this Silent Hill video, and let's try and get 1,000 subs by Christmas. And of course, the big goal is to get that 100,000 subscriber plaque and set right behind my TV. And with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. Y'all have a wonderful day. Take care and be safe.